Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the vlog. Okay, let me... Wait, hold on.
That's too much light? Go ahead. You just sat down.
Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, I am Avery and I do a lot of talking, and this is Simus.
And I don't do that much talking.
And he doesn't really like to talk. Now that we've got that into the open, if you're new here, please subscribe, and if you're returning, we are so appreciative. And today we just want to talk about the truth about how this business that we've been trying to run is going, right?
Oh yeah. So yeah, so we'll get into that. Yeah, we'll get into it.
See why this guy doesn't talk?
Because you covered all the points. There's nothing left for me. Alright guys, let's go talk about the business.
Alright.
Alright, so this is where I shine, right? When it comes to like facts, stats, and things like that. So anyway, so we incorporated this business last month in February. So this business has officially been in business, I think.
Operations.
In operations.
Yeah.
For like a month now. Actually, a month and a day. So we can celebrate our 1 month anniversary for the business.
Oh, we have wine. You want to drink that?
No.
Okay, true. I might be pregnant.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so there's some good things that have happened with this business, and there's some things that haven't gone as well as we were expecting.
Right.
So the number one thing that we wanted to just kind of touch on is how business actually operates here in Lithuania. And it's a lot more bureaucratic and a lot slower than what we're used to in the US.
Right.
However, apparently by European standard, Lithuania is one of the easiest countries to do business in. So I can only imagine how difficult it is in other countries.
That is interesting.
Yeah. As part of running a business here, you have to actually have either a business license or incorporate a business or form some kind of like small corporation or whatever. You have to have an accountant, unless you're an accountant yourself. And you have to consistently report your income to the government depending on the kind of corporate. Well,
And a business bank account.
yes, business bank account. So like all these things, there's no cash involved, there's no paperwork involved. Every single thing that we've done has been online so far, and that's exactly how it's going to keep going. Like literally no cash operations. Yeah, so that's kind of the legal aspect of it. What did you want to touch on?
No, I was just gonna say that that part of starting a business was very streamlined, so I can understand why they say that. I guess starting a business here in Lithuania is very easy because everything was online. We didn't have to go anywhere in person to do it, and it was fairly straightforward.
And quick.
Right.
Actually, yeah.
The problems arise when you have to deal with other companies.
Yeah.
So that is kind of where we are in the equation. So the first set of workers in the list of 800 people that have signed up for this program, we chose to try to work with the bus and truck drivers because we know that there was a high need for that here in Lithuania.
Oh, yeah.
So, like the good business people that we are, we started reaching out to truck and bus driving companies.
Plug the gap, you know?
You know, like I feel like it is such quick math. It's such an easy, logical problem to solve. You need workers, we have workers.
Yeah.
Bring the workers together, your work is done. We get paid, and that's it. However, there is Lithuania in the news versus Lithuania in reality. And Lithuania in reality is much more laid back, or there is not much urgency as it would appear in the news. So if you're in the US and you're reading Lithuanian news, or you're anywhere in the world and you're reading Lithuanian news, you're thinking, oh, they have a labor shortage of 30,000 people and they need people now, or else the country's gonna fail, the economy's gonna collapse. It's all blown out of proportion, right? And I remember saying this to Simmons when we were coming. I'm like, you know, what if we think that it's a problem we can solve? It'll be so easy, but when we get on the ground, it will not be the case. And that's exactly what it is. They do need workers. There is a labor shortage, but people are not urgently looking to fill this gap that exists. Yep. So we reached out to how many bus driving and truck? We reached out to how many truck driving companies so far?
I want to say like 20-ish,
like 20.
Give or take about 20, and then we reach out to them some. Before we even get into that, like the way business works in Lithuania, it works primarily by phone first, email second. To me, that was a total culture shock coming from the US, where a lot of every single job that I've ever done in business that's been operated is email is here, and then you follow up by phone call in case you don't receive an email, or I don't know. I guess it's considered more disruptive to do business by phone in the US, while here you pick up the phone and you call the person and you talk to them. So for me, like speaking business Lithuanian is very weird and unusual because I came to the US as a 12-year-old child, so my skills haven't really remained like a 12-year-old, but I'm still like a 13, 14-year-old. I never
So
finished
you're
high
a
school.
teenager.
Yeah, so my phone skills, I'm learning these new terms, I'm applying them, I'm translating them, I'm like, this sounds terrible, I can't say it like that, so I'm trying to approach the business from like different ways. And but the problem remains, we are able to communicate. It's not a language gap, it's just like, I guess, a cultural like adjustment.
Yeah.
But every single reply that we've gotten so far from a truck company is either we don't need this person, or we are looking for someone who speaks Russian. And we will touch on that more, I guess, in the future video, but it's been really disappointing and unexpected to hear that, because a lot of business still is run in like an old school pre-EU like boomer mentality, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like where we're stuck. So that at least when it comes to the drivers.
Right. So I think this was the most shocking part of this whole project for us, is that we thought that there would be a language issue, probably. But we're like, but everybody in Lithuania speaks English. At least 80% of the population at Simis's age, and like maybe people in their 40s, speak English, and children.
So millennials and the younger generations, like everybody that's over like 9 and under like 45 speaks English, and they speak it really well. A lot of the people that are in my age group, like millennials and people like even in their 40s, mid 40s, and then everybody that's like above elementary school age speaks English pretty well. And we haven't really run into any kind of language issues. You especially, I think when you go to stores and like on the street, everybody is able to communicate with you in English.
Yep.
But when it comes to the older generation, they're still really kind of stuck in their old ways. And there's a very strong anti-Russian feeling in this country because of the war that's happening in Ukraine, and overall because of like cultural things. But the fact remains that business is still run in Russian, or like when anything that has to do with international business, a lot of business in the older generations is still done in Russian, while the younger ones are doing it in English. And the business idea, I guess, that we had is to supply workers with like blue collar skills, and that is the issue that we're running into because a lot of people simply do not have English speaking skills. So it's become kind of a problem to figure out how to fill these very willing people that want to come here and work, but they're simply unable to work because obviously like someone from Jamaica or someone from like South Africa, they're not going to speak Russian.
Yeah.
But the problem is I don't speak Russian and no one else in my generation does either. So it's a really weird phenomenon that we kind of like run into.
Yeah.
And I don't really know how, like, as a semi-local, semi-foreigner here, it's really strange to me. And everybody we met so far is like, yeah, Lithuanians speak great English.
Yeah.
And it's true.
Absolutely.
But it's still like, it's like Stockholm syndrome that we have over here that we're like, must speak Russian to do business in driving. Like, why? I don't get it.
Yep. And it's funny because at one of the companies that we reached out to, the guy picked up the phone in Russian and you were speaking to him in Lithuanian.
Yeah.
He didn't understand Lithuanian.
Yeah.
And a freaking Lithuanian company operating in Lithuania, and the people that answer the phone don't speak the language. So that was something that completely blew my mind, because if it was a hurdle where Lithuanian was the language that was the hurdle, Simis could provide some prerequisite training to people so that they could speak a little bit of Lithuanian. But that's not even it. It's Russian. He doesn't speak it. So it was just like definitely culture shock and mind-blowing that is the problem that we're facing in that aspect. So we moved on from the truck drivers to the bus drivers, and then we ran into a different problem. So the other problem was that in order to drive a bus here, you need to be trained by, for example, the government buses, you have to be trained by the government. They can't provide training in English here because no one in the training level speaks English, right? It's same boomers, like Simis's parents' age, that do not speak English. So what they did, and they recently had people over here to work that are like English speakers, they trained them in Ireland.
Yep.
And then brought them over.
Yep.
So
it's really weird because we have actually people from Africa primarily for now coming to fill in a lot of these job positions, like bus drivers that we mentioned. Our garbage men, they're also Africans. We always see them picking up stuff outside, and it doesn't seem to be a problem. So it's like, how do we crack and like figure this thing out? Because literally nobody will have a problem to speak to these people in English, other than like the much older generation. And it's a bit strange and disappointing so far, I guess. But we're not giving up. We're not throwing in the towel. We're just trying to figure out a way to move forward and like kind of figure it out.
Right. No, I don't want to give up on the project.
Yeah.
And for many people that have been saying we haven't heard anything, guys, if we had something to tell you, we definitely would. I want this project to work so bad that we wouldn't be sitting on information and not sharing it with you guys. There is no good updates for us to make in terms of like where everything is at. So that's why we aren't making any updates, because we want to be able to reach out to you once we have a confirmed, yes, we want these people.
Yep.
However, there's a little bit of like hope, a light at the end of the tunnel, right? Because after the truck drivers didn't work, the bus drivers don't seem to be working, because also licensing will be an issue.
Yep.
When you come to Lithuania or when you come to work in the EU, you have to have a particular class of licensing, and there's going to be downtime that is needed to train someone to get them that license. So the company has to go through expenses to house those workers and to feed those workers while they're in training. So then that's also another issue. So we reached out to the bus drivers that signed up and we said to them, we're trying, but we weren't able to secure anything. But stay tuned, because we are not going to give up.
Oh yeah.
So that's that for now. But where was there some hope?
There was hope actually in a few different places, but one place that we opened up a little bit, I think, is the hospitality department. So hospitality by default, English is the dominant language everywhere in the world. If you don't speak the local language, you're gonna speak English. When tourists come from all over Europe, they're gonna speak English. Tourists from anywhere in the world, that's what it's gonna be. So we've spoken to several restaurant managers and several hotel people, and the answer was, I don't think it's been a no ever.
No, it was never.
It's just
a no.
like, okay, what do you guys got? Let's listen. Yeah. So it may be seasonal work, it may be more permanent work. So we're trying to kind of figure that out as well as we're like working through this.
Yeah, so that was actually like, you guys don't even know, we've been making calls, writing emails, getting no responses for like 3 weeks. And when we started reaching out to the hospitality sector, we started getting a yes, we were on a high. Like, it felt amazing. But there's this one lady, her concern was they have to provide trading material in English. And then that's another problem. We have to translate all the documents, and you have to get a lawyer to do it, and it's like a large amount of documents that you have to sign when you start working for a company. So that's also another hurdle.
Let me define large. I reached out to my aunt, who's an accountant, and she gave me, I think, 8 or 9 or maybe even 10 documents of like 10 to 15 to 20 pages each of like all these kinds of rules that must be translated. So it's not like, oh yeah, I speak both languages, I can go right up. No, it doesn't work like that. You have to pay somebody that actually knows like business and legal language and translate hundreds of like pages of documents for somebody, which is of course additional expenses and additional headaches for companies. So.
The good part about it though is once you translate one in English, it's standard. You could repossess it and use it for other people. But you guys might have heard us say that we reached out to 20 truck driving companies and kind of like shifted gear to something else. You have to remember, Lithuania is a small country and there is not a lot of companies here. So recruiters that are working in the US, it's like a playing field. Here in Lithuania, it's like a much smaller scale. But we started doing something else instead. So while we were going to Simis's Simis's grandma's house on the highway, we saw a lot of trucking and logistics companies. So we started writing down the names of every truck that we saw pass by. So we have that list. We're gonna go through it and see. And we also have other plans of how we can get ourselves in front of employers. So we're gonna be attending trade shows.
Yeah, I started reaching out to like different people that work for like, I guess, higher like white collar companies when it comes to like tech and finance and stuff. And we're gonna be going to our very first trade show next week. We got our first business cards in the mail. We got our business outfits. We are basically ready to go. We'll go get that 18-euro car and then we're gonna be on the road.
18-euro car all the way to Kaunas and we'll be good. But this project, if anything, it is a very humbling experience, dear. It is so humbling because we thought, we're gonna do this, it's gonna work, and then we we ran into so many brick walls since we started this project a month ago.
How many mental breakdowns have you had so far?
Every weekend I have one because we don't work on it on the weekend.
Yeah.
Actually, some weekends because last weekend we were working. But whenever if I'm not working on the project, I feel like the project is failing. So I'm just like, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the day you had your last mental breakdown.
Yesterday, yeah.
Oh, yesterday.
For now.
Yeah, so
it's hard.
Yeah, but I think honestly so far in a month we learned a lot. We did a lot of research and we've consulted with other recruiters. Like you reached out to somebody and we learned that it may take like 3 to 4 months to get business actually up and running off the ground.
To get one yes, actually.
Yeah, so the fact that we have so many interested candidates in so many different fields is a great sign. And then we just have to find companies that are like, yes guys, let's go for it. So we're each day we're inching towards that, I think. And when we cross that line, it's going to be really exciting and
absolutely
actually feel rewarding.
I can't wait to have a success story.
I know.
But if you guys don't see us reaching out to you about this project, it's not because we're not trying. It's a lot of work that goes into it. It's not just like we thought, oh, they need work, let's connect them to workers, you know? Like it's not that easy. But there is also other light at the end of the tunnel. This guy's an ambassador to his city. Hopefully we can and the city needs workers, right? In the industrial department. So engineers, mechanics and stuff like that. So we're going to see if we can work with the city to supply some workers.
So we have re-strategized probably once a day at some point. Now we're re-strategizing once every few days. We're like, oh, let's try this industry. Oh, let's try this guy. Oh, let's try this country. Because we're not just looking at Lithuania at this point. We're like, neighboring countries have the same problem. So we are thinking of the best way to help. Like at the end of the day, the mission is to help people find jobs. And we want them to be well paid. We want them to be in a place that's safe and in a place that like we would consider going to ourselves. We're not going to put people in a place where we wouldn't like recommend going.
Absolutely, yeah.
But at the end of the day, we want to help and we are working on it. And it's going to take some time.
Yep.
And it's going to take a lot more effort and a lot more calls, which I'm not a big fan of, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah. And you kind of have to do it. So, because I don't speak his language yet, so.
Yeah, but you're making calls in English, so.
Yeah. And actually the calls that I made in English were the ones from the hospitality and they were actually interested, so.
Yeah.
Oh, another thing that I didn't mention is that we kind of struck up an exclusive partnership with a hospitality school in Jamaica. So he reached out to us via the Google Forms and he basically told us that he ran a hospitality school in Jamaica, and I looked it up. I was looking at the school, I looked him up and everything checked out, and then we just started communicating about how he can help us supply like qualified and skilled and qualified people in the hospitality industry. We're actually working with a sous chef from his pile, and like we got lucky in that aspect. So there is no shortage of people that want to work.
Yep.
It's just hard to find urgent companies that want people to work. So
Yep.
And
absolutely.
I thought that would be the hard part. I thought finding the companies would be the hard part. So yeah, that's gonna be our mission. And within 3 months, we should have a yes. So help us speak it into existence, guys.
I know. Yeah. But that's gonna be it for now, guys. We just wanted to connect with you, make a quick update, let you guys know how it's going. No, we didn't forget you if you signed up. Yes, we are working on the background. No, we're not going to reach out to you with empty promises or take your money or ask for anything at all. Like, this is what we want to do and we want to do it the right way.
Yeah. Anyways, guys, leave your comments down below and we'll see you in the next one.